That really sucks for you, but we still need it.
Yeah,
and thank
exactly.
you.
I know everybody's going to be upset about it. However, do we want to close today?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, then I'm going to need it.
Yeah.
Yeah, see? Well, welcome to Cabo.
Thank you.
I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, beautiful day, a beautiful trip, and nowhere else we'd rather be than to talk about our drama in mortgage than in Cabo. So thank you for being here. Before we get into the day, we brought some champs out.
It was necessary.
sometimes you just need a little extra help with what we deal with in this business. So why don't you tell everybody who you are, how you got into mortgage, and then we're going to chit chat.
Yeah, so my name is Brandi Brickler, and I am a mortgage broker with Edge Home Finance. And I got into the mortgage industry. I know everybody gets in by accident.
Mm-hmm.
Mine wasn't exactly an accident. Well, sort of. So I actually went to college. I was in the military. So I had a GI Bill. And my whole goal in going in the military was to get college paid for. So I did that. I went to college. It took me a little bit longer than the traditional student because I was a mom and a military spouse. Finished college with a degree in finance, specializing in real estate. And my husband.
So I actually have an education.
Yeah. And
in this specific topic.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I know that's rare. Yeah. Most people are not. But I did that, and then my husband and I were like, it's time to buy a house. So let's buy a house. And, we went in and we were talking to our loan officer, and, we were talking about my college and my specialty and, what are you going to do? And I was like, I'm not exactly sure. And they were like, why aren't you working for us?
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know. Why am I not working for you? And so they hired me, and did all of the, the loan training,
Yeah. So we all have a different path that we get to mortgage, very varied. And yeah, a lot of us don't have very specific education in actually what we do.
Right.
I always wonder sometimes, I'm always like, how do people get into this? How do you even learn this? I grew up doing this.
Yeah.
My mom opened our company in 93. And so I have always known this, right? And so when people ask me I think I want to become a mortgage loan officer, I was like, don't ask me how you learn this stuff, right? No. It's like osmosis. So let's talk about what kind of clients that you specifically help, because I know you're pretty niche down like me. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about them, and let's talk about how you support them in buying homes.
Yeah, for sure. So my clientele, my ideal client is a military person, whether they be retired or active duty. And that's because, and the way that I explain it to other colleagues and stuff, or people in my town, is that your town is your town. You live there, you meet the people, you're intimately knowledgeable about that. I am a military spouse for 25 years. I was in the military myself. That is my town. So that's my community. And so it's really, really important to me because I've been on the other side of being taken advantage of by, companies who target veterans. And so that is super important to me. So it's the thing that wakes me up every day.
Yeah. What specifically about work, what are those challenges? For myself, I couldn't tell you the last time I did a VA loan. It has not been in the past 5 more years. Right. I probably have never originated a VA loan. I probably did them on maybe originated one, and used to do VA IRRRLs as an account executive. But what are those things if you don't specialize, I specialize in investor stuff. So there's a wealth of knowledge that I have that where I'm what I do is real easy, but if you don't know these things, you're going to get up a creek without a paddle. So what are those things specifically around VA loans where you're you need to work with somebody that knows what they're doing? Because if not, you could get,
Right. Well, a lot of it is the terminology. It is, or knowing, one of the biggest problems that people get into is, say just any loan officer would, take someone's pay stub and say, okay, cool, you qualify for this amount of mortgage. But I know that at some point that paycheck is going to end. And so I know where to look, where to find, and the questions to ask. So someone doesn't go into contract and then realize just before closing, wait a minute, we can't close. You're ending that job. You're getting out of the military. You're not going to have that income anymore. So it's really important to know the terminology, to understand people are moving different areas. So the military will pay based on your housing allowance, based on your zip code, where you're living. Well, your pay stub doesn't tell you that zip code or how much it is. So, I did most of my originating in Hawaii. And so what the housing allowance is there is different from Arkansas.
Yeah.
And so if a loan officer from just anywhere is qualifying a client, like just on that pay stub, then they're completely wrong.
Yeah.
And they end up with problems.
Yeah. What's been the most rewarding part of your job? I would think like working with veterans sounds like really rewarding.
I mean, those are like my peers, so I don't think anything really special. We're all like in this whole thing together. So that's not, I guess my favorite thing is just saving a veteran from a situation where they were going to get taken advantage of. So that's my biggest thing. That makes me thrilled.
Yeah. You can rest easy knowing that they're being taken care of. All right, well, let's talk about today. So we have, from episode to episode, we always get into the drama files, right? Because there's no limit to the amount of pressure and stress that happens in this business, right? And we talked about a lot that you're a certain type of person that can be under that pressure, and then also our responsibility in not taking that out on the people around us in our life and in our business, right? That we're not passing along. That's not everybody has that skill yet, and that's what I find makes transaction the hardest. Is when like a counterpart, an agent, or whoever else just hasn't learned how to deal with the stress. That's what makes it stressful. But share kind of what you're going through right now, and like what happens.
So I have a client who is moving from California to Texas, and it was a contingent sale. So meaning they needed to sell their home for the funds to purchase the next home, and the sale was delayed. And of course, when it's delayed, you're always trying to pick up the extra days that you were missing, to sort of make everybody happy and, close on time. And this time it just wasn't possible. So we were supposed to close on Friday, and I didn't get those wired funds until late in the afternoon, which meant that my underwriters didn't get it till late in the afternoon, which meant that it rolled into Monday. And everybody's really stressed. And so, we're in a different time zone than where I work. So I got up extra early this morning to try and make it happen.
Extra early, like what time?
4 a.m. Yeah. I got up at 4 a.m. to start trying to make everything, come together. And, as the time of me coming over here, I wasn't any closer. Just over some things that seemed like they would be simple things. But I understand, I can appreciate that, people don't appreciate this because we take care of it. But, balancing a file means that we're looking at an invoice and we're making sure that you're paying exactly what's on the invoice. And, we want to make sure that it works out for you. So, of course, it's annoying to be delayed because of an invoice doesn't match, what's happening. But at the same time, we're making sure that you're not overpaying. And we're making sure that everybody's paying what they're supposed to.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't understand lending just in general. But like, as on the bank side, they're trying to balance risk because they have to sell these loans, and they got to make sure that they're going to pay and that, everything's good. And sometimes it's going to seem really tedious when I'm like, hey, listen, I need every page of the bank statement. That last page that says intentionally left blank, I need that one too, right? And I know it seems like
trivial.
Really? And you're like, yes, really. And right? And you're just like, I got you. Welcome to lending. A lot of the stuff doesn't make sense, and we still have to do it, right? And you're like, and it takes longer than you think it's going to take, right? Because like, for you, this is your only file. It's like only.
Right.
But there's a long list of people. And so sometimes things don't happen right away. We have to get in line, and we're going to push as hard as we can push. But there is like limits to like what we can sometimes do.
What do you mean? Like every client is my only client.
Right. I only have one at a time. And, I think one of the things I've learned over the years is to get real good and just trusting that things are turning out how they're supposed to turn out. I remember this one time I had a client who, you ever get those files and you're like, this is not a hard file. Why is it getting really difficult? This should be really easy. And I think we had gone through a couple lenders, and I'm like, girl, like, I can continue to push. You want me to push? I'll push.
Yeah.
But also, we are now on our second, maybe our third lender, and we're having issues. I'm like, this shouldn't be an issue. And I'm like, I just have to tell you, this may not be.
I've done that before.
Right?
Yeah.
There's something happening here. This may not be your path. If you want me to push, I will push for you.
Trust it.
But also, trusting in everything is happening how it is supposed to happen. Right. And maybe we're forcing just a little bit too much. And those are hard conversations
to have. I definitely have conversations like that. Yeah. I say that, the great thing about this industry is that everything's different every day. And also the worst thing about it is that everything is different every day, so but again, like you said, like trusting in the process and knowing that if it's not working out, like it doesn't mean no, it just means not right now. And I'm still going to help you, know.
There's a better fit coming. Something better is coming. But that's also if like, I noticed in my life, like foundational belief systems, right?
Yeah.
So like,
I have those.
Yeah. Like if not this, something better. And like trusting in that faith that, even in that mess, it's clearing out the way for the blessing to come,
Yeah.
I don't know. I always think to myself, like if you're going to choose any sort of belief or mindset or whatever, you might as well choose one that functions a little bit better for you, right?
Yeah.
So that one works really well for me. Why don't you tell me what you love about Notorious?
Well, women do this job different than men, right? So it is important to be surrounded by other women in this group that can support each other in only a way a woman knows, right? We understand that half an hour ago I was crying, over a file. So that I don't think the guys are having a little circle over tears over a file.
Yeah.
So it is really important for us to sort of share our experiences, learn from them, give tips and tricks on like how, we've all overcome those. So that's kind of what I think is most important.
Yeah. And some days are crying days, right? I know for myself, there was like this one year where like my circle really shifted, and then I had other women. I didn't have like friends that were in mortgage. And so I felt like I was on an island.
Yeah.
And so that's part of the reason why I created Notorious, because I was like, it's such a lonely journey. We work by ourselves a whole lot.
Right.
And women do really well in community. And I remember one year I had this big switch up in friends. I found it really, at the time, very difficult to like sometimes sit in the same room as like people because just the conversations were different. Like, I don't know. They want to talk about like homeroom mom drama. And I'm like, you want to talk about homeroom mom drama or like drama at the dance? I'm like, drama at the dance studio with your 7-year-old. Like I can't get into that convo because in the back of my head, I'm like, God, I have a client that like has a $50,000 deposit, goes hard, and I don't know if we're going to close. And like, and you're like, all those things you have to do. And I'm like, I can't even sit here and connect with you because I'm dealing with this and you want to talk homeroom mom drama. And nothing like wrong with
their drama is the same to them as it is to us, right? Yeah.
So once I had those friends, like the other women in this industry, it was like a secret knowing. Like I didn't even have to tell you what I was going through, but at any given day, this is what it looks like.
Yeah.
And I could just say like one little sentence and you're like, I got you.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, Gay and I were talking like before that because, coming from a military background, we've been in like a hyper male environment. And of course the industry is pretty heavy, male dominated already. And I was like, I said, I'm going, but I'm not exactly a girl's girl. I'm a guy's girl. I like football. I like to, and so we were both saying, I feel like I really need to like lean into that side and sort of like have a crew of women that you can just call and, connect with.
Yeah. We need both. We need so also part of the reason why I created Notorious is I was just like so fed up with every model I saw on stage. It would be like 90 to 100% male lineup. And I'm like, that's great. But like men are usually, their masculine business plan is just like outwork the next guy. And I'm like, I don't want to do that anymore. Right. Yeah. It's like, I prescribed to that for a really long time. And now I'm like, I want to attract business to me. And I want to be able to use a lot of like that feminine quality, which is creativity and attraction and all of that. and rest and like there is a grace and a flow to it than just like hunter gatherer. Right?
I can't do that. Yeah, that's not my. I feel like people would want to like do their mortgage with a woman more than a man, just because, I feel like we're more nurturing. But for some reason, you think that people don't like to be sold and hard, but they do. You know, I guess.
Yeah,
so
sometimes.
it's interesting.
Yeah. Do you ever have any challenges in what we do, being female, communicating with clients, communicating with peers?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I think probably one thing that I'd like to probably overcome is that, that shakiness in your voice sometimes when you have to say the hard thing that you don't, you want to be really, truly confident in what you're saying. You're like, I feel the other side. And so your voice gets a little shaky and it comes across as not being confident, And so I think that's probably the biggest challenge as a woman, that you're so empathetic and sympathetic to like what's happening on the other side that, you don't come across as confident.
I'll say that too. One thing that getting better at is giving bad news earlier than later. And we tried to just solve it all. Like, you don't need to know about all of that.
Right.
And then also that, and then what really is my responsibility? Because we're real good as women of like taking responsibility and taking care of everything. And there's times I'm just like, that's not my problem.
Yeah.
That is your problem. And I will hear you.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry you need to drive to the bank and get a bank statement because you don't have online access.
Right.
And that's not like, I don't have to take on that pressure or that stress because I didn't create that. And like, and I can be empathetic with that. Really sucks for you, but we still need it.
Yeah,
and thank
exactly.
You.
Like 100%. I mean, that literally happened today. I was like, I know everybody's going to be upset about it. However, do we want to close today?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, then I'm going to need it.
Yeah.
Yeah. See? The more you do the business, I think maybe it's really hard, I think, when you're new too, because you take everything so personal and you're just like, oh, it's my fault and I got to solve it and all this kind of stuff. And then I don't know, over years, who's really good. We're going to give a shout out. Who's really good at like, this is not my stuff is Elena Boland. She's like,
oh yeah, she's so good. Yeah, she really is.
She's very good at that. And I'm probably it shows up in her numbers because she's done so
Rock
well.
Star.
Yeah. And so the ability to be able to handle all of that in our industry can be very challenging. What I find myself saying sometimes is, and women will understand this, men, I don't think you guys will ever understand this, but saying things like, well, I could be wrong. And I'm like this, I am not wrong, but I have to sometimes color what I'm saying so that you hear me or things might have changed. They have not changed. I already double checked and triple checked or whatever.
Yeah. You're like, I'm not wrong.
Not wrong. Just so you know, if I ever say I may be wrong, know that I'm not. I've already double checked it. I remember one time I was telling a male in our industry, I needed a referral for like a title company, escrow company attorney. I don't forget what they use in that state because I do business across the nation. And so I needed, say he was an attorney in New York. And I remember he was like, hey, I use so-and-so. And I said, okay, great. Thanks so much, And then I asked, because I had gone through the process to try to track down a contact for XYZ company. And so after, I'm doing like my Google and I'm just like, there's like 50 companies with that very same name, right? So I emailed him back or I messaged him back, hey, do you have a contact over there? You want to know what he said? Google it. And I was like, you don't think I didn't already Google like the...
I just had that with an appraiser this week. That's crazy.
Google it.
Okay.
Okay.
It was like, your client can Google it as well. And I was like, well, you could Google it, but you're wrong. Like, Google's wrong.
Yeah. What do you really love about this business?
I have never been in a job or position or whatever where my income was dependent on my work ethic, I guess, and that's, I don't think I would have ever been, I'm pretty conservative in, most things that I do, but I was put into a position in my first job where they said, we will pay you a draw on future commissions. So I was like, that sounds great. I mean, that was enough to cover my kids' tuition. So I was like, all right, let's do this. But the earning potential based on, how you work and not the hustle. I don't want to say the hustle, right? We want to get away from the hustle.
Yeah, but you're based on your own merits.
Right.
Right? There are some people like... There's a difference between an ops mind and a sales mind, right? Where I need to be compensated for my work,
right,
to the capacity, right?
Yeah,
I could never do a regular 9 to 5 and like you just shut off and then you just go home and like and then what? Like, what is there like? Where does the push or the drive come from? So being able to like get paid what you're worth and like if you want a raise, figure it out. I don't know if you need to streamline or systematize or what, or get your butt in gear, whatever it is, but you really become the holder of or the creator of your own destiny.
And we can't like go without mentioning the fact that we're here in
Cabo.
We're in Cabo while we're working, right?
Yeah.
So we can work from anywhere and we can,
That's my favorite. That's my favorite part of this business, and really learning or wanting to incorporate that more and more and more. I had said on one of the previous episodes that we could have filmed this anywhere. I could have filmed this in Texas.
Right.
We could have come to LA where I live. It probably would have been easier in LA. We didn't have to take all of this stuff.
Right.
But that would have been boring.
Yeah.
Right? And so being able to go to like really amazing places and do this and like get paid and have this like have a tangible impact on income, like
it's not even just that, because I do love like being able to just fly to Cabo and like film, this is amazing, right? But I don't live by my children. My children live in different states. They are adults. And so the flexibility opens up like actually being a parent and being able to be near my children, which doesn't suck that my daughter's in Hawaii. So like that's also a great place. And my other being in Las Vegas. So, I mean, I get to hop around and,
I love
work from anywhere.
Yeah. I love that. I think a lot of people would really appreciate that part of the business. And I wish that's what we were sharing more often, are those pieces in this business than, working on the weekends and stuff. Like, do we? Yes. Do we have to hustle? Sure. Do you got to grind? Sometimes you do, right?
But you can
do all these other things, and this is the beauty of it.
Right.
And sometimes we don't share those. I don't know if it's I don't know if men have that problem of being like, look at me. I think women were like, well, that's bragging, right? And like, I don't want to look like I'm a bragger or any of that. And it's like, for myself over the past couple of years, getting okay with standing out, hence the name of the show, being seen. And sometimes that's going to like be uncomfortable for people, right? You're like, oh, look at you and your big self, right? Like I don't know if you hear that in the back of your head, but that, especially if you're building on social, that's part of it, So do you struggle with anything like that?
I don't think I'm out in front that much, I do still try to stay, I don't know. I make videos and stuff online, but to me, I'm just making the video. I don't even know who's looking at it, So I'm not, I don't know if that's something that I struggle with.
Yeah. No, I definitely did. Which is, also the continuingness of like, okay, Paige, can you go bigger? Is there more to be had here? Or is it like, I don't know.
Maybe I'm not pushing the limits enough. I don't know. Maybe I need to push the limits more.
We're going to get you to push the limits. Yeah. Let's talk about, where do you see yourself over the next 5 years?
That's interesting. So I think I have a little business plan that's in the works right now, which I have been reading a book called The Art of Impossible. And when I was reading it, I was like, you know what, I'm going to do something with this. Like sometimes you read a book and you're like, okay, I finished it, but this one I was like, I'm going to do something with that. And so I have heard like the little voices in the back of my head saying not to do it, don't do it. Somebody else is doing it, all of those little things that I'm like, well, you know what? I don't care. I'm going to do it anyway. So I have that, it's tangent with this business. I don't know if I'm ready to sort of like put it all out there yet, but it's tangent with this business and something that I can, leave as a legacy to my children. I really think that I will be bringing my daughter on in this business as well. And I think what the cool thing is that in 5 years, I plan on doing the same thing, but hopefully with less stress because I've learned some things.
Yeah.
With sort of building that team, and then bringing my children on and leaving a legacy.
Yeah. I love so much of what you're talking about right now because I really do think our businesses and being self-employed, being an entrepreneur, it's really a personal growth plan, and you just get paid to do it. Because the minute you're like, I'm going to step outside of my comfort zone, you get to learn that some of you guys may not know this yet. You're like, I don't even hear that voice, but you get the voice, right? And like that voice is designed to keep you safe, right? So it's like homeostasis, don't you be stepping out and doing nothing, right? And so then once you learn that that's just a voice, then you can start to work with it. So you have all of that. I know with, building Notorious, I remember when like the idea came and I was like, this is not mine.
Right.
Somebody else should do, somebody with a bank account and like departments, because I don't even work my business with a website. Like this is not my, this
journey.
is not, this is not for me. All y'all should do it. And then nobody was doing it. And I was like, okay, Paige, I'd read this book called Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. She also wrote Eat, Pray, Love.
Okay.
And in Big Magic, she says that there are just divine ideas. And if you're given a divine ideas and you don't move on it, it will go to somebody else.
Right.
Because divine ideas are coming to the world. They're coming to fruition, whether you do something or not. So you get the choice, right? And so that's why you look back and you're like, oh, I thought of that. I should have done that. And so I remember, thinking like, all right, I read that book and I think it's a divine idea. It felt bigger than me, but I knew I didn't have the resources. I was like, I don't have the resources, the money, the contacts.
Right.
I don't have anything to do this. And it was like, no, whatever your belief system is around, an energy bigger than yourself, God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called, thing, right? So you may come to the table without your resources, and that's okay because it'll be provided.
You'll figure it out.
Yeah. And so that whole year, that first year, every step I took, I was like, oh, I hadn't been pushing myself outside of my comfort zone.
Right.
Everything I was doing, I was really proficient at. So I didn't really need to lean on anything else. I didn't have to have faith because I didn't need it. And then I was like, oh, we're doing this Notorious thing. I was like, I didn't know it was going to be so much work and I didn't know it was going to be so much money, but I definitely did not. It cost, 6 figures to throw.
Yeah.
I definitely knew I didn't have anything close to that. I didn't want to lose any of it.
I'll figure it out.
Right. And I was like, okay, Paige, these tools. Now you get to step out in faith that everything is provided when you're walking in alignment. And if I could just get out of my way, the more I could just become a clear channel for this energy to come. And anytime I was like, what the are you doing? It was like, nope. We're not talking about that. I'm not here for this energy. People would say stuff, like women's events don't make money. And I'm like, not available for it. You can keep that over there. And then here we are, later. It's wild to watch. So I can't wait. You can share with me in private what that is all about however I can support you. What would you tell a woman right now getting started in our industry?
I think the most important thing is that I've learned over the years is consistency, right? I mean, you can't be successful without consistency. Like I'm sure you've seen that, right? You have to be consistent. The moment that you sort of drop the ball and you feel like you're in the groove and it's just going to run itself, it's not going to do it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you have to remain consistent. That's in your business, in your brand, in your everything. Everything is being consistent. Yeah.
It's always in my brain, I'm seeing a stalled out car, right? And it's real heavy at the beginning, right? It's real heavy. But if you get some momentum, it's easier to steer, but you can't still stop doing nothing, right? But you don't have to, it's not as heavy when you're in motion, right?
Yeah. It's all the things that we say, if we've done coaching or we've been, every year, maybe December or January, you like get on a coaching call and you have all the things that you need to do to be successful or more successful or grow your business or anything. Every year you do it, And some people will fizzle out. You'll fizzle out 9, 10, 11 times. And then you figure out all the things that you need to be successful. You already know what you need to do.
Yeah. Sometimes I think it's not even so much the how-to. It's this and like our heart game.
Of course, yeah.
Right? It's our own limiting beliefs. And for myself, what I've noticed is like inaction breeds like worry, fear, doubt, insecurity so much. I'm just take a step. It don't even have to be like a big step, whatever. Just like you need to continue, get in motion.
But that's something I think about women that, we want everything to be perfect before we make the first step. And that's where we sort of stall out.
Yeah. If anything, that's one of the things I'm really good at. Being okay with it. Like, it's going to look real messy at the beginning.
Yeah.
I remember the first time my friend No More and we did like a video course. And like, it was such a cluster.
Right.
Like the people that were doing like a beta version, they didn't even finish the course. Like they were just like ghosted. Yeah. But we do it. And like, we're like so silly on camera. We have no idea what we're doing. And like then looking at the content and just being like, this is really bad. And like, but you have to go through the really bad stuff then to get to this, right? Now it's like the content we do now is great, but we had to get through that like being bad part. Yeah. And that's hard sometimes.
It is hard. I know, like I have a lot of friends in the industry and they're like, oh, I'm going to do that thing, but I need to like make this right and this right. And my paper has to be here and my pencil has to be there, my computer. And then I got this new thing and I'm going to set it up and it's going to be great. And then as soon as that's working, I'm going to take the next step. Yeah. And like,
none of that makes you money. None of that.
None of it. Yeah. So it's working around those ideas that you need it to be perfect before it's actually in motion, right? You have to start the wheels turning before you'll get the momentum and the consistency to keep going.
Girl, I like, not that this is a good business advice. Like, so nobody take this advice. But to date, I do not have a CRM. I don't have a website.
Yeah,
I'm just like, how did like almost 19 million last year? No website. Zero.
Well, I think in your niche, right? That it isn't.
That's not good advice, right?
That isn't that necessary, but you know what I mean. And if you're doing traditional, Fannie Freddie loans, right? Out of sight, out of mind is a thing, right? And you just have to remind people that you're still there. But in your business, like people will remember because they're seeking out financing. In our industry, they're seeking out a house. They're where they're going to live. It's a dream. That's something else. I'm just the facilitator as the mortgage professional to get them into the house. That's all they care about. For your side, they want the investment. And they're going to come find you. You'll be like, that Paige, she got me like this amazing loan on this investment that I needed to do. But don't follow your advice.
Don't follow. You should get a CRM. You should get a website. And I always feel like, you guys watch out because when I have one, I'm like, blow you all away.
But it doesn't need to be perfect because that's where we also get caught up is that we don't have this CRM didn't work because it wasn't right. Or, there's pre-built scripts in there, all my friends. There's pre-built scripts in there that sort of go out on the triggers, when things change in the file. And they were like, well, no, I need to go in and rewrite all of them. You're like, stop doing that.
My favorite, kind of along that conversation.
That's a woman thing. Right?
Is sometimes this idea around, go with me for a second because it's like a little bit of a long one. Units and volume, right? And like, I am a volume girl. I'm like, I don't want to do a lot of units. I like my business plan is like the least amount of units. I want to like work the least amount, make the highest dollar amount. And that comes with volume, not with units. And so sometimes people would be like, but you're in California. That's really easy for you to say because you guys got big loan amounts. And I'm like, I don't even lend in California. Like, I'll do like 2 loans here the entire year because debt service, it's like, it's hard to invest here. The numbers don't make sense. And so sometimes I'm like, okay, I got you in middle of nowhere, Kansas, and you think that your limit of success is now determined on where you live. And nobody said you have to lend where you live. Right. That is now just a false narrative that you could switch that. You could find a different product. You could get licensed in different states. You could just go on social and market wherever.
Right.
You're not limited anymore. So then being able to like reframe, these ideas that we have that we think we're being limited and what's really holding us back. And none of that is true. It's really our own self.
It definitely is connecting with, like women, we like to like, I don't know, maybe it's like you don't want to be embarrassed or something. Like you don't want to step out and be embarrassed that you did something wrong. But I guess, just click the button, turn on the script, send the thing, do the thing, and figure out later.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I love this conversation. Heavy on like the interpersonal work that we all have to do in mindset. So I love that you brought that to the table today. And I'm so happy you made it to Cabo with us.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. All right, guys, join us on the next episode of Standout. And you can check out our website. It's notoriouswmn.com.
My name is Brendan McKay, and I'm the president and co-founder of the Broker Action Coalition, the BAC. The BAC advocates for mortgage brokers and its consumers in Washington, D.C. and every state house in the country. Whether it's a legislative issue like triggered leads or regulatory like LO comps, the BAC is working on it. If you want to see progress in these areas, you need to step up and help. Whether it's finding ways to volunteer or support us financially through donations, we need you to step up. Head to www.brokeractioncoalition.com. Thank you.